Hello students, in the last class we have studied the Darboux condition of integrability in detail, and after that some remarks based on it also we have studied. Then at the end we have solved one example on testing the integrability of a function. That example was integration a to b k dx is equal to k into b minus a. In that we have shown that the constant function k is integrable over any interval, or any interval means also on the closed interval a to b, and we have shown that integration a to b k dx is equal to k into b minus a. After solving that example, one second example which was about the rational and irrational numbers function, it was also given to you as a practice homework. Okay, hope you have solved that example. If not, then you can go through today's video, and if you have solved that example, then you can check whether you have solved correctly or not by going through today's video. And also we'll solve some more examples in today's class. Okay, so let us begin with the example second, which was given to you for solving in the last class. That first of all I am going to explain. Okay, example second. Example number 2. Example number 2 was, we have to show that the function f defined as, show that the function f defined as, show that the function f defined as, how it is defined? It is defined as f of x equal to f of x is equal to 0 when x is rational, and f of x is equal to 1 when x is irrational. Okay, so this is that function, and we have to show that this function f, which is defined in such a way, is not integrable on any interval, on any interval, it is not integrable on any interval, that you have to show. Okay, any interval. This was the example that was given to you as a homework, and now we will solve this example. Okay, let us solve this example. So solution of this, as it was explained in the last class also, for solving this example, as we have to show that it is not integrable on any interval. On any interval means we will consider for our convenience closed interval a to b as the domain, and we will show that on that closed interval a to b this function is not integrable. Okay, so given f of x is equal to, so its one value is 0, and it is when x is rational. Okay, so when x is rational, then f of x is equal to 0, and f of x is equal to 1 when x is irrational. Like such, this function is defined. Okay, let us consider an interval. Suppose that interval is closed interval a to b. So let closed interval a to b be the given interval. Let closed interval a to b be the given interval. Okay, given interval. Given interval. Suppose this is the given interval. Then obviously, as earlier, we will consider a partition of this closed interval a to b. And let p we'll consider the partition points of the partition. Let p, which is equal to a, that is equal to x0. Okay, first point in the partition is x0. Second point is suppose x1. Third one is suppose x2, and continued up to the last one is xn, which is equal to obviously b. Okay, and let p, this one, be a partition. Be a partition of closed interval a to b. Be a partition of closed interval a to b. Okay, so as if you gone through the definition of the function f, okay, then the function f is defined as f of x is equal to 0 when x is rational and f of x is equal to 1 when x is irrational. So this obviously this partition p subdivides the interval a to b into the subintervals. It divides the interval a to b into the subintervals. Okay, so then we'll consider the capital Mi and small mi. Okay, let capital Mi and small mi be the supremum and infimum of function f. Okay, with the supremum and infimum of function f respectively in ith subinterval. In ith subinterval, and ith subinterval is the delta xi. In the ith subinterval delta xi. Okay, which is the ith subinterval that we denote by the delta xi, but that the subinterval we are very well aware of. It is the closed interval xi minus 1 to xi. Okay, ith subinterval delta, this one, delta xi. Then what are its values? So then capital Mi will be equal to, what will be the capital Mi? Capital Mi is the supremum, and if you gone through the definition of the function f, okay, then in the each subinterval, what we have? In the each subinterval we have some rational numbers and some irrational number. As we know that in between any two real numbers there are infinitely many rational numbers and infinitely many irrational numbers. So therefore in each subinterval, means in each delta xi, there are some rational numbers, there are infinitely many rational numbers as well as infinitely many irrational numbers, and at the irrational numbers value of the function is 1, and at each rational number value of the function is 0, and means in the each subinterval at infinitely many points the value of the function is going to become 0, and at infinitely many points the value of the function is going to become 1 also, and among the 0 and 1 obviously the larger value is 1, so therefore capital Mi is equal to 1. Okay, capital Mi is equal to 1, and small mi, which is the infimum of the function f. Okay, as told just now, in each subinterval there are infinitely many points at which the value of the function is going to become 0, and at infinitely many points value of the function is going to become 1. Among these 0 and 1, obviously 0 is the smaller value. So small mi is equal to 0. Okay, this is for all I equal to 1, 2 up to the n. Okay, again we have this one, we have small mi and capital Mi. After finding the small mi and capital Mi, we will go to the definition. We will compute first of all the lower Darbox sum and upper Darbox sum, and then we will find out the lower and upper integrals. Okay, so this one. So now we will find out the lower Darbox sum and upper Darbox sum. So then we have what we have? We have UPF, means the upper Darbox sum over partition P of the function f. UPF. Okay, this UPF, it is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. Okay, capital Mi into delta xi. Put the value of capital Mi, which is equal to summation over I equal to 1 can be written in short as only summation also. Okay, so summation over I equal to 1 to n. Summation over I equal to 1 to n. Capital Mi. What is capital Mi here? Capital Mi is just now we have told capital Mi is equal to 1. So 1 into delta xi, which is equal to the 1 into delta xi is simply delta xi. So we got this is equal to the summation over I equal to 1 to n delta xi. Okay, summation over I equal to 1 to n delta xi. And what is summation over I equal to 1 to n delta xi? Summation over I equal to 1 to n delta xi means summation of lengths of each and every subinterval. Means first subinterval, its length plus length of the second subinterval plus length of the third subinterval up to the length of the last subinterval, and summation of lengths of each and every subinterval is equal to the actually length of the complete closed interval a to b, and length of the complete closed interval a to b is simply b minus a. So this is equal to b minus a. So what we got? Therefore we obtained the upper sum or partition P of the function f. Here it is equal to the b minus a. Now we'll compute the lower sum also in the similar way. Okay, so after finding the upper sum, we'll go for the lower sum. So now we'll compute the lower sum. Again we have, and we'll go for the lower sum now, and lower sum over partition P of the function f means LPF, it is equal to, again same, summation over I equal to 1 to n. Okay, summation over I equal to 1 to n small mi into delta xi. This is the formula for lower sum, and which is equal to, again similar, summation over I equal to 1 to n. Put the value of small mi. Just now we have checked that in this particular example small mi is equal to 0. Okay, so therefore small mi is equal to 0. Therefore we will put the value of the small mi here. So if you put small mi equal to 0, then this becomes 0 into delta xi, and 0 into any real number is going to become 0. So this comes out equal to the summation or I equal to 1 to n 0. Okay, and summation n times summation of 0 is simply 0. So this is equal to 0. So we got the upper Darbox sum as b minus a and lower Darbox sum as the 0. Okay, so after finding the upper and lower Darbox sums, we will go for the next one, which is our after upper and Darbox sum, upper and lower Darbox sum. We will go for the next one, which is our upper and lower integrals. Okay, so we'll find out the upper and lower integrals. So we'll compute the upper integral first of all, then the lower integral. So we'll go for the upper integral now. Okay, therefore we'll use the definition of the upper and lower integrals for finding it. Therefore upper integral a to b, upper integral a to b f dx, upper integral a to b f dx is equal to, upper integral is the infimum, so it is infimum of set of all upper sums, means UPF, infimum of set of all upper sums, okay, where P can be any partition of closed interval a to b, which is equal to the infimum of all the upper sums are equal to the simply b minus a, okay. So the set of all the upper sums in this example is consist of only one number, and that number is b minus a. And if a set consists of only one member, then that same number is its infimum. So infimum of a set containing only one member b minus a is simply b minus a. Therefore, we have obtained upper integral in this example equal to the b minus a. We will denote this one by the equation number 1. And we will go for the lower integral now. And lower integral a to b f dx, lower integral a to b f dx is equal to, by the definition, it is equal to the supremum of the set of lower sums over partition P of the function f. Okay, so it is this, and we know that this lower sum here, in this case lower sum is obtained as 0, okay, and it is independent of the partition. As if we take any partition, then we are going to get here lower sum as the 0, and again, as told just now, the set consists of only one member, therefore its supremum will be the same member. So supremum of a set which consists of only one member 0 is the 0. So we got the lower integral as 0. We will denote this one by the equation number 2. So from 1 and 2, it is clear that, okay. So from 1 and 2, what we got from 1 and 2? From 1 and 2, we observe that lower integral is not equal to the upper integral. Okay, if lower integral is not equal to upper integral, then by definition of Darbox condition of integrability, what we can conclude? We can conclude that the function f, which are considered here, okay, is not integrable on the interval a to b. So from equations 1 and 2, it is clear that upper integral a to b f dx, this is not equal to lower integral a to b f dx. Okay, so hence function f is not integrable. Function f is not integrable over closed interval a to b. As it is not integrable over closed interval a to b, therefore it is not integrable on any interval. Okay, so likewise we have solved this example. This was the second example that was given yesterday to you for solving. Okay, after solving this example, we'll go through the next example, which is the example number 3. Okay, now we'll solve the third example. After solving this second, we'll go to the third example. Example number 3 now. Example 3. In the third example, we are going to show that the function x square is integrable on any interval. Suppose that interval is 0 to k. Okay, so this third example is show that x square is integrable. X square is integrable on any interval. It is integrable on any interval. Okay. any interval, and interval is given here is the closed interval 0 to k, where k is again any real number. Okay, closed interval 0 to k. On this interval, we have to show that the function x square is integrable. So this is the example. We are going to solve this example, and this can be solved in a similar way as we have solved the earlier two examples. Okay, so we'll go for solving this example. So solution of this example. So we'll denote the given function by the f. Okay, so we are going to solve this example. So solution. We'll solve this example. Solution of this. So let f of x is equal to x square. Okay, where x belongs to the closed interval 0 to k, which is given in the question. So this one. So as usual, we have to consider partition. Okay, let p, which is equal to closed interval, first point is 0 and the last one point is k, then only this will be a partition and each point should be less than equal to next point. Okay, so now before constructing this partition, consider this diagram here. Okay, this is for understanding purpose. So consider here that this is the, suppose our number line. Let us consider number line. Okay, so a number line we'll consider here. Number line from here up to here is the suppose number line, our real number line. Okay, on this number line we'll consider the 0 and 1. Suppose 0 is here it is somewhere, suppose it's 0, and suppose here it is k. Okay, 0 to k, here it is 0 and to the right of it is k. Zero to k. So this one 0 to k. In this 0 to k, let us consider what in this 0 to k. Now let us consider the points. We will divide this 0 to k interval into n equal subintervals. Okay, we will divide this 0 to k interval into n equal subintervals. So if this interval is to be divided into n equal subintervals, then the length of the each subinterval will be equal to k minus 0 divided by n. Okay, length of the each subinterval will be right end point minus left end point divided by number of subintervals. So right end point is k, left end point is 0. So b minus a will be here equal to the k minus 0, which is equal to k, and it is to be divided by n. So if this 0 to k interval is to be divided into n subintervals, each of equal length, then the length of the each subinterval will be equal to k by n. So if the first point is 0, then after that 0, if we go to the right k by n distance, then the point will be the 0 plus k by n, and 0 plus k by n is simply k by n. Okay, then again if we go k by n distance to the right, then that point will be the k by n plus k by n, which will be the 2 times k by n. Again if we go k by n distance to the right, then the point will be the 2k by n plus again k by n, which will be equal to the 3 times k by n. Okay, likewise. So continuing in this manner, if we go to the last one point, it will be the n k by n. So n will get cancelled and we will simply get the k. So likewise we have the subintervals. But if we have to consider the ith subinterval, then the ith subinterval will be from I minus 1 to I. Okay, xi minus 1 to xi. So xi minus 1 will be here equal to the, okay, if you consider the left end point of the ith subinterval, then the left end point of the ith subinterval will be the I minus 1. That point will be the I minus 1 into I minus 1 into k by n. I minus 1 into k by n. And right end point of that ith subinterval will be the I into k by n. Okay, it will be the I into k by n. I into k by n. I am explaining each and every part in detail so that it will be easy to understand to you. So likewise we have, this is the ith subinterval. Okay, and obviously if you consider this general ith subinterval, then if you observe the function f of x equal to x square, this function is an increasing function in the interval 0 to k. Okay, this is an increasing function in the interval 0 to k. What we mean by the increasing function? If we go for this function, then graph of this function, then how it appears? Graph of this function is as it is mentioned here, as I am mentioning here. Okay, drawing here. So suppose here it is 0. Okay, and somewhere it is k here. If you consider the positive direction of x-axis, means the first quadrant, then x square, f of x equal to x square, its graph will be as such. And as it is an increasing function, so if you consider any subinterval, such as suppose ith subinterval, I minus 1 k by n to I k by n, then in this subinterval, the infimum value will be at the left end point. Okay, so infimum value will be at the left end point. Left end point means at this point, and this will be the infimum value, and supremum value will be at the right end point, means at this point. Okay, if this is the point I minus 1 k by n, then at this point value of the function f of x equal to x square will be the square of this, which will be the I minus 1 k square by n square. Okay, so here the value of the function will be the I minus 1, it's a square into k square by n square. Okay, as this point is I minus 1 k by n, and as this point is I into k by n, so value of the function at this point will be the I square k square by n square. And as this is an increasing function, so this will be the supremum, means this will be equal to capital Mi, and this will be the infimum, means this will be equal to small mi. Okay, I have drawn the diagram for the ith subinterval, and also I have explained by using this number line. These two parts here, these two parts are just for your understanding purpose, and these parts are not to be written in the theory examination. Okay, if in the theory examination this example is asked, then it is not expected to write this much part which I have mentioned here. This is just for your understanding purpose only. Okay, so now after obtaining the small mi and capital Mi, we'll go to our example. Okay, so where first of all partition points we'll write down here. Okay, so what we have the partition points, then we have the partition points. The first partition point is the obviously a, which is equal to 0. The second one is k by n. Third one is 2 times k by n, means 2k by n. Next one is the 3 times k by n, means 3k by n. And continuing in this manner, the I minus 1 ith partition point will be the I minus 1 k by n. Next point will be the I times k by n. Okay, I times k by n. Next will be the I plus 1 k by n. And continuing in this manner, the last one point is obviously n times k by n, which is simply k. N will get cancelled and we'll get this as k. Also I have explained the small mi and capital Mi, so we'll put the values of, and we'll write the small mi and capital Mi also. Okay, so we have, and so small mi, it is understood that throughout this paper small mi is for the infimum of the function f in the ith subinterval. So it is not necessary to write in the each example that small mi denotes the infimum and capital Mi denotes the supremum. If it is written, then it is well and good. And even though if it is not written, then also it is understood. So here small mi is equal to the, as explained just now, small mi is equal to the I minus 1 into k by n whole square. Okay, I minus 1 into k by n whole square. This is our small mi. And capital Mi. What is capital Mi? Capital Mi in this particular example is I into k by n whole square. I into k by n whole square. After finding the small mi and capital Mi, we will go for finding the lower sum and upper sum, and then lower integral and upper integral. Okay. Now first of all we will find out the upper sum. Okay. So upper sum means UP of. Okay. Upper sum of the function f over the partition P. So upper sum we will find out. So upper sum means UP of. It is equal to upper sum over partition P of the function f means UP of. It is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n capital Mi into delta xi. Okay, which is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. Just now I have explained that capital Mi is equal to I into k by n whole square. Okay, I into k by n whole square. This is the capital Mi, and delta xi is equal to length of the ith subinterval. Here in this example, length of the each subinterval is equal to k by n. Okay, so therefore delta xi is equal to k by n. Now this is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. I equal to 1 to n. So this becomes I square into k square by n square. Okay, so I square into k square by n square into k by n becomes the k cube by n cube. K cube by n cube. We'll take the k cube by n cube outside the summation as it is independent of the I. Okay, counter of this one summation, this summation runs over I, and this k and n both are independent of I, therefore this term k cube by n cube can be taken outside the summation. So therefore we'll get this is equal to k cube by n cube into summation over I equal to 1 to n I square. Okay, now which is equal to k cube by n cube as it is into, put the value of I in this one summation over I equal to 1 to n square, in this put I equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. So this become 1 square if you put I equal to 1, if you put I equal to 2 it becomes 2 square, if you put I equal to 3 then it becomes 3 square and so on up to the last one. If you put I equal to n then it becomes n square. Okay, so this is equal to k cube by n cube as it is, k cube by n cube into, it is to be multiplied with, okay, 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square up to the n square. So this is the sum. This square bracket is nothing but it is the sum of the squares of first n natural numbers. Sum of the squares of first n natural numbers, and we know that the sum of the squares of first n natural numbers is nothing but that is n into n plus 1, n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1, n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1. divided by 6. Okay, this is the formula for sum of the squares of first year natural numbers. This formula we have studied in the 11th standard, as well as this formula also we have studied in the semester 3 sequences and series topic. Okay, so this one we got. Now, therefore, what is the next? So after finding this, okay, so we got the this is our, what is this? This is our upper integral, but this upper integral can be simplified further. How it can be simplified? See here, this is equal to, we'll keep this k cube as it is. Okay, and from each term in the numerator, means this n will get cancelled with 1 n. From n plus 1 we'll take the n common. Okay, so this k cube and 6 of the division means k cube by 6 we have taken outside this product, and we are left with n into, again we'll take n common from n plus 1 and 1 n common from the 2n plus 1. So n into n into n, it becomes n cube, and remaining will be the, from n plus 1 if we take the n common, the remaining will be simply 1 plus 1 by n. From this 2n plus 1 if we take the n common, the remaining will be the 2 plus 1 by n. Okay, and this complete quantity is to be divided by, this n cube. See once again how this we have obtained. This k cube of the numerator and 6 of the denominator we have kept as it is. Then this 1 n, then we have taken 1 n common from this n plus 1 term and 1 n common from this 2n plus 1 term. Therefore in the numerator we got n into n into n, that is n cube, into the n plus, from n plus 1 if we take the n common, the remaining will be the 1 plus 1 by n, and from 2n plus 1 if we take the n common, then remaining will be the 2 plus 1 by n. And in the denominator we have this n cube as it is. Now this n cube will get cancelled with this n cube. Okay, and we have left with only this k cube by 6 into 1 plus 1 by n plus 2 plus 1 by n. So see what we have left with. Okay, so this is equal to k cube by 6 into k cube by 6 into, the remaining is simply 1 plus 1 by n into 2 plus 1 by n. This much is left. Okay, 1 plus 1 by n into 2 plus 1 by n. After finding the upper sum, we'll go for the upper integral first. Okay, so therefore upper integral a to b f dx, upper integral a to b f dx is equal to, infimum. Infimum means the smallest value of this upper sum. Infimum of the set of upper sums means infimum of UPF. Okay, infimum of this UPF. And infimum of this UPF means nothing but it is equal to limit as n tends to infinity of UPF, upper sum over partition P of the function f. Okay, so which is equal to, now put the value of UPF here. So which is equal to, so therefore this is equal to limit as n tends to infinity of UPF means this value put here. So it is k cube by 6 into 1 plus 1 by n into 2 plus 1 by n. Okay, as k is independent of n, so this k as well as 6, this k cube by 6 is independent of this limit, so it will be as it is, k cube by 6. And now if we take the limit of this 1 plus 1 by n and 2 plus 1 by n as n tends to infinity, what we'll get? So as 1 is constant, its limit is 1 as it is, and limit of 1 by n as n tends to infinity is 0, which is very well known to us. Similarly, limit of 2 as n tends to infinity is 2, and limit of 1 by n as n tends to infinity is once again 0. Okay, so 1 plus 0 is 1, 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 into 2 is 2. So k cube by 6 into 2. Okay, k cube by 6 into 2 means this 2 will get cancelled with this 6, and in the denominator we will be left with 3 only. So therefore what we got? So therefore we have obtained this upper integral is equal to, so it is equal to simply k cube divided by 3. This is our upper integral, k cube by 6, and in the numerator we have the 2. After simplification we got k cube by 3 as the upper integral. Okay, we'll denote this one by the equation number 1. So we have computed the upper integral. Now we'll go for the lower integral. Now we'll compute the lower integral. So for finding the lower integral, first of all we have to find out the lower sum. So lower sum or partition P of the function f is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n small mi into delta xi. Okay, small mi into delta xi, which is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. Put the value of small mi. What was the value of small mi? Value of small mi was I minus 1 into k by n, I minus 1 into k by n whole square. This was the value of small mi. Okay, if you want you can check that we have solved, that we have obtained some time before. Into delta xi means length of the ith subinterval, which is in this example is k by n. So this is equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. Here k by n, k by n whole square is k square by n square into k by n is k cube by n cube. Okay, so this is k cube by n cube into I minus 1, it's a bracket square. Okay, now as earlier, this k as well as n both are the independent of the I. So therefore this k cube by n cube term can be kept outside the summation. So k cube by n cube, they are both are independent of the I means summation. Therefore that term we have kept out of the summation, and remaining is simply summation over I equal to 1 to n, I minus 1, it's a square. Okay, now which is equal to this k cube by n cube will remain as it is, k cube by n cube into, now put I equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 up to n in this one's I minus 1 whole square. So if you put I equal to 1, then we will get 1 minus 1, which is 0. 0 square is the 0. So first term is simply 0 square, which is 0. Next, if you put I equal to 2, then 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 square is 1. Next, if you put I equal to 3, then becomes 3 minus 1, which is 2. 2 square, which is, we will keep as it is 2 square. Actually it is 4, but it can be also written as 2 square. So 0 square means 0, then 1 square plus 2 square. If we put I equal to 4, then this becomes 4 minus 1, that is 3, so which is 3 square. And continued till the last one. If you put I equal to n, then this becomes n minus 1. It becomes n minus 1, it's a square. Okay. So now we'll find out this summation. We'll simplify this. Okay. So this is equal to k cube by n, k cube by 3 will remain as it is into, okay, this is the again sum of the squares of first n minus 1 natural numbers. The last one term is n minus 1 whole square. Okay. So here square bracket is nothing but It is the sum of the squares of first n minus 1 natural numbers. Means the same formula we have to use here, which we have used for computing the upper sum. Only the change is that in that formula, in place of n, we have to write down the n minus 1. Okay. So therefore, what we'll get in place of n, if we write down n minus 1, then we'll get the formula was n into n plus 1 into 2n plus 1 divided by 6. In that one, we have to replace n by the n minus 1. So therefore, we'll get n minus 1. Okay. Into, for the n plus 1, if you put n, for the n, if you put n minus 1, then we'll get n plus 1 as simply n. Into, the next term was 2 into n plus 1. Okay. So in 2n plus 1, if n is replaced by n minus 1, then we will get 2 into n minus 1 plus 1. So 2 into n minus 1 is 2n minus 2, and then plus 1 is simply 2n minus 1. Okay, and it is to be divided by 6. So this is the summation of squares of first n minus 1 natural numbers. It is n minus 1 into n into 2n minus 1 divided by 6. As earlier, here again this one. Okay. So what we have here n cube. Here it is n cube. So n is remaining here. I will make a correction here. N cube. Here it is n. Okay. It is not 3. This is n cube. So k cube by n cube we have taken common. Okay. So this is k cube by n cube. And here also this is k cube by n cube. Okay. So now, as earlier, here also we'll take the n common from each term of the numerator. So from the n minus 1, from this n and this n, we'll take the n common. Okay. And let us see what we'll get. Now we are going to simplify this one. Okay. So this is equal to k cube by 6. This 6 we have taken here. Okay. So k cube by 6. In the numerator we will get n cube into 1 minus 1 by n into 2 minus 1 by n. Okay. And it is to be divided by n. This we got here. Okay. See here, from this n is 1 n is present here. 1 n we have taken from this term n minus 1, and we have left with 1 minus 1 by n after taking n common. And 1 n we have taken common from this term 2n minus 1. So we have left with 2 minus 1 by n. So n into n we got the n cube into 1 minus 1 by n for the n minus 1 term, and for the 2n minus 1 we got 2 minus 1 by n. Now, as earlier, this n cube by n cube will get cancelled, and we got only this summation as equal to. So the lower sum comes out to be k cube by 6. Lower sum is k cube by 6 into 1 minus 1 by n into 2 minus 1 by n. Okay, this is our lower sum or partition P of the function f. Now, after finding the lower sum, we will go for the lower integral. Okay, so lower integral we will find out. So, lower integral. Therefore, lower integral a to b. Okay, f dx, which is equal to, by definition, supremum of the set of lower sums or partition P of the function f. And as told just now, to get the supremum of this lower sum and also to get the infimum of the upper sums, we have to take the limit as n tends to infinity. So this is same as the limit as n tends to infinity of lower sum or partition P of the function f. Okay, so this we have to consider. So we'll consider this limit. So this is equal to limit as n tends to infinity of k cube by 6. This term, this is lower sum. Okay, which is the limit we are taking, k cube by 6 into 1 minus 1 by n into 2 minus 1 by n. So this is equal to. So after taking the limit as n tends to infinity, k cube by 6 will remain as it is. And next, 1 limit of 1 is 1, limit of 1 by n is 0 as n tends to infinity. So 1 minus 0 is 1, and here we'll get 2 minus 0, which is 2. So 1 into 2 is 2, 2 into k cube by 6. Okay, so we'll get this as the k cube by 6 into 1 into 2. 1 into 2 is 2, so 2 divided by 6 is simply, in the denominator we'll get 3. So this comes out to be the k cube by 3. So we got the lower integral equal to k cube by 3. We'll denote this one by the equation number 2. So now observe the first and second term. Okay, observe the first and second equations. See here, in the first equation we have obtained the upper integral is equal to k cube by 3. Okay, and now in the second equation we have obtained the lower integral equal to same k cube by 3. In the lower integral also we have obtained the lower in the second equation also we have obtained the lower integral equal to k cube by 3. So therefore from equations 1 and 2. Okay, therefore from 1 and 2, from equations 1 and 2, what we got? We have lower integral a to b f dx is equal to, here a to b means 0 to k. Okay, it is equal to upper integral a to b means 0 to k f dx, and f is equal to x square here. So therefore by the Darboux condition of integrability, we conclude that the function f is integrable on a to b means 0 to k. Therefore we conclude that, therefore function, given function, what was that function? That function x square is integrable. Function x square is integrable on any interval 0 to k. It is integrable on any interval 0 to k, and we have also obtained its integration, and integration 0 to k x square dx. Okay, here integrand is x square. The function which is to be integrated is called as integrand. So x square, it is here x square. So it is obtained as, it is equal to, we have obtained this is equal to k cube by 3. Okay, it is equal to k cube by 3. So likewise we have solved the next means we have also solved this third example here. Okay, after solving these 3 examples, one example is for your practice and for it is for your homework. You are going to solve this example. That example is the example number 4. Okay, example number 4. Example number 4. It is, you have to show that the function is 3x plus 1. Show that the function 3x plus 1 is integrable. On closed interval. Is integrable on closed interval 1 to 2. Okay, and also you have to find its integral, and you have to show that, and integration 1 to 2. Okay, integration 1 to 2 fx dx. Here fx is simply 3x plus 1. Therefore integration 1 to 2 3x plus 1 dx, it is equal to 11 by 2. Okay, this is homework for you. Here also, as usual, you can consider the n subintervals of the given interval 0 to of the given interval 1 to 2. Okay, one hint just I will give here for solving, so that it will be easy to solve you. The hint is that you have to go for the earlier diagram which was seen earlier. Okay, the diagram which was seen earlier. I will show that diagram. As we have seen in the solving third example, in the fourth example also you have to consider this such a number line, and you have to consider in place of 0 you have to consider here 1. This is for the fourth example I am telling. Okay, in place of 0 you have to consider 1. Means what are the changes? I am just those changes only I am going to indicate here. Okay, so the changes will be here in place of the 0 you have to consider the 1. Means here you will get the 1. Okay, in place of 0 here you have to consider the 1. So therefore, and in place of k you have to consider the 2. In place of k you have to consider the 2. So interval will be in place of 0 to 1 it will be 1 to 2. So therefore, if this 1 to 2 interval is divided into n subintervals, then length of each subinterval will be b minus a divided by n, means 2 minus 1. b minus a means 2 minus 1 divided by n, but 2 minus 1 is 1. So 1 divided by n means 1 by n. So therefore, if the first point of the partition is 1, the next point will be the 1 plus 1 by n. Next point will be the 1 plus 1 by n. Next point will be the 1 plus 1 by n plus 1 by n. Means it will be the 1 plus 2 by n. Okay. Then fourth partition point will be the 1 plus 2 by n plus 1 by n, which will be the 1 plus 3 by n. And continuing in this manner, this point will be the 1 plus I minus 1 by n. Then in place of this point you will get 1 plus I by n. Okay, and last point is obviously we have the 2. So likewise these changes you have to make, and also some more changes you have to make, which then what are we here? The function f of x equal to 3x plus 1 is increasing function. Okay, as this function f of x equal to 3x plus 1 is increasing function as that of the function x square, which are considered in the example number 3. So similarly here, if we consider as it is an increasing function, so you have to consider the diagram, this diagram for the understanding purpose only. Okay, so increasing function, suppose its graph is this. If its graph is such, then this point is 1 plus I minus 1 plus I minus 1 whole divided by n. This is that point. Okay, and 1 plus I by n will be this point. So the infimum of the function in the ith subinterval delta x minus 1 will be at this point, as this is an increasing function, and at this point the value of the function will be just in the formula of the function. You have to, in place of x, you have to put this value to get the small mi, that is infimum, and to get the supremum you have to put 1 plus I by n in place of the x to get the capital mi, that is supremum of the function in the ith subinterval. Okay, so what will be the supremum and infimum of the function in the ith subinterval? So infimum will be equal to small mi, which is equal to, okay, it is f at this point, but f at this point, but f was equal to 3x plus 1, so therefore small mi will be equal to 3 into 1 plus I minus 1 divided by n. Okay, this has become 3x, then plus 1. This will be the small mi, and similarly the capital Mi will be capital Mi. Okay, means supremum of the function in the ith subinterval is the capital Mi. It will be equal to 3 into, then here in place of this you will get the 1 plus I by n. Okay, so 3 into 1 plus I by n, and then this plus 1 is as it is. Okay, so after giving the values of infimum and supremum, means small mi and capital Mi, near about 80% of the example is solved. You have to what is remaining, you have to just put these values in the formula for lower sum and upper sum and solve accordingly. Okay, so this is the homework. example. You have to solve this example, and then after solving this example, you will get that this function is integrable, okay, on the interval 1 to 2, and you will get this integration of this function equal to the 11/2. Next, again after solving this example, the next one is one more thing, that note I am going to give you here. Okay, so two important notes we will discuss here. So as told earlier, this is the homework for you. Homework. So after this homework example, two important notes we will discuss here. Notes or remarks means these are the important points. Okay, so that we will discuss here. Which are these? The first one is that if function f is bounded on the closed interval a to b, and if k is a positive constant, then we will get if k is a positive constant. If k is positive constant. Okay, then what we have? Then we have upper integral a to b. Then we have upper integral a to b k into f dx. Okay, this will be equal to k into upper integral a to b f dx. This one thing, as well as we have lower integral a to b k into f dx is equal to k into lower integral a to b f dx. Okay, when does this happens? This happens whenever k is a positive constant. Okay, if k is a positive constant, then it can be kept out of the upper integral as well as the lower integral. Now, if k is a negative constant, then what happens? That we'll see. Okay, that is the second note. If k is a negative constant, if k is a negative constant, then what we'll get? Then we have the upper integral a to b k into f dx. If k is a negative constant, then it will be equal to k into lower integral a to b f dx. See what the changes occurs here. Okay, so this one, and the lower integral a to b k into f dx. Now this becomes k into upper integral a to b f dx. When does this happens? This happens whenever whenever k is a negative constant. Okay, so this one, if k is positive constant, then first note. If k is negative constant, this is the second note. And also we have, okay, so if k is constant, any constant, and if the function f is integrable, then also we can write down this as the, okay, that will write down as a third note. So if k is, third one, if f is integrable, if function f is integrable and k is any constant means positive or negative, any one. Okay, then obviously we'll have integration a to b k into f dx is same as k into integration a to b f dx. Okay, this is when function f is integrable. So if function f is integrable, then in that case we will get the integration a to b k f dx is equal to k into integration a to b f dx. So like such we have these important notes and remarks. So today we have solved two examples. One example is given for your practice as a homework, and also we have gone through three important notes on this integrability of a function. So today we'll stop here. In the next class we'll see inequalities for the integrals, as well as we'll derive some deductions. Okay, so today we'll stop here.